Once upon a time, in a small village nestled between rolling hills and quiet forests, there lived a man named Elias. Elias was known by everyone as a kind and hard-working person, but he carried a heavy burden. His emotions often overwhelmed him. The smallest problems felt like mountains, and setbacks left him feeling broken for days. One evening, as he sat by the fire, his grandfather, a wise old man who had seen many winters, noticed his troubled face. "You look as if the weight of the world is on your shoulders," his grandfather said. Elias sighed and admitted that he felt weak, that his emotions controlled him instead of the other way around. His grandfather nodded slowly and began to tell him a story. "Long ago," he said, "there was a young tree that grew near the river. It was slender and full of life, but every time the wind blew, it bent and trembled. The older trees stood firm, their branches swaying but never breaking. The young tree asked the oldest oak how it remained so steady. The oak replied, 'I have faced many storms. Each one taught me to bend without breaking. So you're saying I need to face hardships to grow stronger?" His grandfather smiled. "Yes, but not just that. Emotional resilience is not about avoiding pain or pretending you don't feel things. It is about learning how to move through storms without letting them destroy you." Over the next few months, Elias decided to practice this wisdom. The first lesson he learned was to accept his emotions instead of fighting them. When sadness came, he let it stay for a while, understanding that it was natural, like rain that eventually passes. He stopped telling himself, "I shouldn't feel this way," and instead said, "This is how I feel right now, and that's okay." The second lesson was perspective. One day his horse ran away, and the villagers told him how unlucky he was. Elias simply replied, "We shall see." A week later, the horse returned with 3 wild horses following it. The villagers celebrated his good fortune, but again Elias said, "We shall see." The next day his son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg. The villagers lamented his misfortune, but Elias repeated, "We shall see." Soon after, soldiers came to recruit young men for war, but they left his son behind because of his injury. Elias realized that life is full of ups and downs, and what seems bad at first might turn into something good, or at least teach us something valuable. He stopped rushing to judge events as purely good or bad, and instead waited to see how things unfolded. The third lesson was building a strong mind through small challenges. Just as a muscle grows stronger with exercise, resilience grows when we face difficulty. Elias began to push himself in small ways, waking up earlier, taking cold baths, practicing patience when things didn't go his way. These small acts of discipline made it easier to handle bigger hardships when they came. Fourth lesson was connection. Elias noticed that when he kept his struggles to himself, they felt heavier. So he began talking to trusted friends and family. He discovered that sharing his burdens made them lighter, and sometimes others had wisdom that helped him see things differently. Finally, his grandfather taught him about meaning. "Pain is inevitable," the old man said, "but suffering is optional. When you find purpose in your struggles, they hurt less." Elias thought about this deeply. He realized that every hardship had taught him something: patience, strength, or compassion. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" he began asking, "What can I learn from this?" Years passed, and the villagers noticed a change in Elias. He was still the same kind man, but now, when storms came, whether in life or in his heart, he stood firm like the old oak. He felt pain, yes, but it did not break him. He faced loss, but he did not lose himself. One evening, a young villager came to him, looking just as troubled as Elias once had. "How do you stay so strong?" the young man asked. Elias smiled and began to tell the story of the young tree by the river, and how resilience is not about never falling, but about learning how to rise every time you do. And so the wisdom passed on, just as it had for generations. Because emotional resilience is not a secret or a gift given only to a few. It is skill, built through patience, practice, and the understanding that storms do not last forever, but the strength you gain from them does. The end.